So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these questions. I'm going to try to go through as many as I can. And then if you have something that you want to share, again, in good Cuban form, we don't do raising hands. You can just shout out. Because in my family, the louder you speak and the faster you speak, the more you're going to be heard. So we'll just be family. Is that okay with everybody? We just make this a conversation with family. Okay, I'm glad that everybody likes that. Because we just hung out last night, and I already feel like we can hang. We can hang.
Family. We're not scared, girls. Bring it.
So like Maria said, they've never made mistakes. No. They've never made mistakes. So Maria, why don't you share with us what we spoke about last night about, are there mistakes in business?
Well, yeah, that's true. It's how we look at it, right? I mean, these are learning opportunities, is I think the phrase that we wanted to rename it. There really are no mistakes. It's like there's no crying in baseball. I mean, there are only mistakes in entrepreneurship, and there are no mistakes in entrepreneurship, right? It's how you learn from it and how you adapt and change. And I think there was a study done, and I can't give you the exact percentages, but I think there's something like 95% of the businesses that actually succeed have end up looking quite different than they did when the founder first started. And it might be because the product or service is different. It might be because of where they wanted to sell it or market it was completely different, or the product looked, the change, you have to be adaptive. That's for sure, 100% sure.
But there are very painful, expensive
lessons. So expensive.
So why don't you share, Liesel, why don't you share your most expensive lesson?
Do I have to?
Yes, please
It's
do.
quite embarrassing, really.
Come on, don't they really? They want to hear it. Don't you want to hear her most expensive lesson?
Thank you. Literally every entrepreneur that's been up today has said to everybody, do not share and do not sell equity in your business until somebody's offering you at least $1 million, or you've been in business for a long time. But I didn't own a house, and my parents didn't have any money, so I had to sell equity. But then the mistake came when I bought something that then I couldn't sell. So I just spent all this money on stock that we were in negotiations with a big distributor called Boots in the UK. And I walked out on the deal because they wanted to buy it too cheap. And then the boat turned up 6 weeks late, so we missed the summer period, which was what the stock was for. And, 4 years later, I still got some of it in a warehouse. So, it was a big mistake, and I lost 20% of my company. But you live
to tell it.
I tell the tale, and we're still here, and, we're going into profit this year, which is great. And I've got 10 staff, and I've got a factory in the UK. So, it's all a learning curve. But
Absolutely.
It was a big mistake. But at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. So that's why we were saying it's never really a mistake, because obviously you think you're doing the right thing. So.
And I think that that's the key. I think that there's an opportunity for us to have some perspective in remembering that you made the best decision based on the information you had at
the time. Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times we have to be a little bit more compassionate with ourselves and realize this is the information that I had. And now moving forward, I will make other decisions.
Yeah,
right?
and I'll let you guys know, don't do the same as well.
Don't do the
I
same.
did.
Right, and you're in a room of 200 and something people that now will not make that mistake because they heard yours. And that's something I always say. I always say, you know what? This is going to make a great story one day, and I'm going to save a lot of lives with this one, right?
Well, Lily, I'm not so sure. See, sometimes we hear things, right? We store those nuggets of information, and then we're in that meeting with that great deal, and even though it doesn't possibly really feel right, we still take it because we take it. And we know we've made the mistake, we can't backpedal it, and my point to this piece is you make the best decision you can at the time with the information that you have, and give yourself permission, right, to fall, to scrape your knees. There's a reason why my skirt is long. I have fallen much, scraped my knees much, worn many Band-Aids, but you get up, right? You get up and you keep going, and you learn from that mistake, because what got you here won't necessarily get you there. So Just a little ad.
Yeah, I
Permission,
appreciate that.
people. Give yourself permission.
Totally. So let's get to the questions. So this question is from Ruby. Is Ruby in the room? I hope so. All right, Ruby.
Ruby!
You're the first question. So Ruby asks, how do you determine how much to pay yourself versus invest in my business when I'm first starting out?
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
It's a great
That's
question.
the best question.
So Google the crap out of this and figure out what's fair market value, and that's what you pay yourself. Now, if you decide to make an investment, right, into the business, then you deduct and then add. Because if you pay yourself nothing, you will have no value. You have to pay yourself first, even if it's less than fair market. You'll never be able to fire yourself and replace yourself if you don't. Sorry, I jumped on that one.
That was good.
However, later stage investors do not like to see their money going to the founder. I'll be completely honest.
That's true.
Nobody likes that. And the bigger your valuations get, and the more real Wall Streety we go here in Series A, nobody wants, if you're raising money, they want to see that it is not going to the founder.
So making nothing?
Well, most often because you have the equity though, right? So it's not like you're not getting anything. It's that, well, you have this equity, so then at some point, as the equity becomes more valuable, you're expected to sell some of your own equity to sustain yourself, because investors absolutely don't want to see. And even though a CEO of a company might be making, $250, $300, $500, whatever it is, if you're going to raise $1 million, your investors don't want to see that half of it is going to you.
Yeah.
They want to see that it's going to the company.
When I was applying for my loan and I went to the bank, I didn't get my money from the bank because they said no. But the bank manager said, your wages, I think I'd put in like 600 UK pounds a month. And he said, you need to take that down. And in the UK, if you're a director of a company, the national minimum wage doesn't apply to you. So in the UK, the culture is if you're the director and founder, you don't get paid, basically. Yeah, you get paid at the end when you sell the company.
But you have equity, right? So you're getting, if there's
so you
profits
build
at the end,
it,
you're getting a percentage of that. And if there's not, then you
So I
start
think,
delayed
Ruby,
satisfaction.
it depends on the kind of company that you have and the goals that you're looking for. So you heard two different perspectives, no right or wrong answer. Then there's a couple of variables that you would need to determine the answer to be able to decide which makes most sense for you. Great question, thank you. So next question is, how do you prevent burnout when working so much in the beginning? And this is from Stormy. Where's Stormy? There you are. Thank you, Stormy, for that great question. So it's
Great
interesting
question.
that you said in the beginning, Stormy. In the beginning, middle, end, and after the
Yeah,
end.
that's
Actually,
a good
Luly,
question. That's a good
Luly,
question.
I'm going to say this this question's for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Really?
so I'll answer it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Thank you, ladies. So Stormy, I believe that balance is bullshit. Can we say bullshit here? I hope so. I hope so. I make my mother very proud when I get up on a stage and say bullshit. So what I would say is that there isn't such thing as balance, and I think what I mean by that is what needs to happen. We put so much focus on being perfect and being perfect in all the different roles that we play, that we forget what it's really about. And one of the speakers, you actually shared it earlier this morning, right? It's about perspective, and it's about making choices and defining success on your own terms. What does success mean to you? Have you ever thought about what that really means? Have you ever reflected or journaled? This is what my definition of success is. So what I would say to you is define what that looks like and quantify it. Is it by the amount of money you're making? Is it by the amount of hours you're spending with your family? Is it the amount of trips you're taking per year? Is it the percentage of growth of your business? And it could be several things. But I think many times the reason why we burn out is because we don't have an alignment of our personal and professional goals. So what if we looked at all the goals, aligned them, and then determined what my definition of success is for this year? And then next year it's going to be different because your life has different seasons. Just like you're a year older, there's different things in your life that have happened for you that didn't happen last year. So the same way that the ladies just shared kind of the perspective on our experiences and the fact that we really don't want to see them as mistakes, I think there's a lot of really beautiful growth opportunities in your business for you then to be able to determine what burnout means for you, because your definition of burnout is a very different definition of burnout for me. I don't believe in working 80 hours a week. I think if you're working 80 hours a week, that's insane. For other people, that's where their value is. And I can't judge that, although I think that for me, that would be crazy. Of where I am in the stage of my business and in the stage of my life, that's not where my priorities are.
Can I just chip in on that as well?
I'm sorry?
Can I just chip in as
Yes,
well
of
on that
course.
question? I found that in the beginning I was doing the 80-hour week thing, and then what I discovered was that actually I was more productive when I was doing like 10 hours a day instead of like 16, 17
Right.
hours a day, or like even more now. I've actually got it down to like 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. But at least, it's like you're actually more productive if you condense it down and actually make sure that you're working the whole 8 hours and then resting in the downtime.
That was a great question. Thank you. Thank you. So next question is, where's the line between underconfidence and overconfidence? And it's anonymous.
I really wrote that down.
That was your question, Fran?
But I'll own it.
Underconfidence and overconfidence. Does anybody want to take that one?
Sure. I think for me, overconfidence sounds like you're selling, that you have to be right. You don't have to be right. You just have to be present. You have to be able to volley, to be part of a conversation in a boardroom, doesn't matter who you're with, around a conference table or just one-on-one, right? So there's an arrogance component that once that peaks, that's where you lose people, right? When you're yourself and you're vulnerable, right? And you're open, people are open and receptive to you. But when you have to be right? When you're trying to close the deal or convince them, you're losing that emotional connection, right? Kind of like going to that why piece, right? So when you can make that emotional connection, you can really earn that trust. When you earn their trust, that's when transference or deals actually happen, because there's a trust factor there. When arrogance gets in the way, or when this overconfidence, as we might hide underneath that, then it really does blocks, because something doesn't feel right. So for me, it's try to always be in myself wherever I am. And sometimes that's not so easy, because sometimes they're really wrong. And there's nothing I can do about it. I have to meet them where they are to earn the trust, so that I can, kind of share the things that out of my experience, or the things that I can do to help them. But it's not as easy all the time.
Maria, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I would just say, you obviously have to be confident in what you're putting forth. However, the people that are around you, if you're hearing things, if they're making suggestions, if they're saying, maybe there's a retailer that's saying, I don't think this is priced at the right priced correctly. Maybe you feel really strongly that it is. Don't be so headstrong that, these are experts at what they do too, and you need to listen. And you don't always have to adjust your thinking, but you definitely always have to listen. And even then, when you have something that's different than what you're thinking, ask more people. Because, it's just silly to live only inside your own head for something that you haven't done before. So, I would say, just try to be open to getting advice.
I agree. We're good? Okay, so next question is from Kelsey. Is Kelsey here? Hi, Kelsey. So Kelsey asks, what is the best way to begin a company rebrand or even a major business model pivot, possibly after near failure? I thought, Fran, maybe you could take this one.
So my answer is really going to always be the same, right? Start with why. Why do you exist? What gets you to jump out of bed with excitement every single day? What do you want to see in the world in terms of results as an impact? So you get up, kind of fighting for this cause, contributing to that cause all the time to see this impact in the world that you want to see. Now, that might seem like a little big, but at the same time, it's really completely authentic to who you are as the leader, right, of your organization. So everything really starts with you. So when you can identify those components and you can articulate that, that's the best place to start on a rebrand. Ogilvy did it this year. We just launched globally for Investis Digital. I mean, you can look at so many amazing case studies where they really just, they go back to why. Why are they here? And really just start there, and you'll absolutely rebrand into center, and it'll be authentic.
You good? Yeah. Okay. So what are some best resources or options to secure funding without going into debt or having collateral as a minority female?
Well, so we spoke about funding earlier, and this is obviously, this is it, right? So, I mean, I would say there are certain programs that exist. I've never actually been, well, I don't want to say I've never been successful in getting any money from one of them because of having a woman-owned fund or whatever, because I never asked. But so I would say to check there, because there are lots of new programs now that exist, especially for microfunding, and different cities have different things, different states do, the government does. But I think that really, you know, if you could start on a smaller scale somehow, then just start. Like, just do it. Like, just start smaller and maybe do something that doesn't require as much capital, so you can dip your toe in the water and make some mistakes and just learn some things before making a huge, you know, a huge impact. Like I said before in our early discussion, proof of concept is super important for any investor to see, whether it's a banker, angel, anybody. And so if you can just get that little proof of concept in a smaller way, we want to see that. Like, it's very important. So just, you know, see what you can do with the resources you have. You don't have to go, you know, sell something to mass retail. Maybe it's like a couple of stores near you, or, you know, things like that. Maybe you do the production yourself. It's not going to be great cost of goods sold then, because you're not outsourcing it to somebody who can do a large batch for you. Fine, but just get it in the store, see how it does, and then you can just start more slowly. You don't need a huge amount.
So what I'm hearing you say, Maria, is that maybe a lot of us are jogging and we want to go in to run a marathon. And there's a lot of steps that we need to take before we run the marathon, and realize that just because you're a jogger doesn't mean that you're a runner, and doesn't mean that you can do a long distance marathon. So there are steps.
Much easier to make the mistakes small than big.
Right, right. So taking steps.
Yes, oh my God. Do a smaller batch size, even if it costs you more money, and make some mistakes. Find out the cap didn't work. Find out the shelf life wasn't what you thought. Whatever it is, find out on a smaller scale, and so then you need less money. So.
And you should also look what's trending with the big brands, which is where we get into trouble a little bit, because they're actually catching on into this sort of POC or proof of concept piece where they're micro-branding, where you see, how many of you heard in the last 6 months to a year about mattress companies that you've never heard of before? Right? Okay. Most of them don't even manufacture yet before they put something on social. Right? So this micro branding is where the big brands are creating offshoots, you know, to segment an interest in population before they actually go into production, which really gives us a hard time, because we actually have to make those mattresses and find 5 stores locally to actually prove that concept before we can run. So we can run, but we can't hide. But do more with less, right? You don't need a big bells and whistles, Drupal, WordPress, blah, blah, blah website that has, you know, follow through. There's so many plug and plays, and there's so many things that might not do everything that you need, but you don't need the big stuff that does way more than you need. Like, start small. You can do it. I started my agency, I swear to you, I didn't have $5,000 in the bank. I mean, we're over 5 million. It's just, and I have no funding, which is why I'm really not great with the funding questions. But it can be done. You can do it. What got you here may not get you there, but just go start something. You could do it.
Also, you can get, like, you might be able to, if your business idea is product based, you might be able to speak to somebody locally who can make something for you. And you might be able to do a deal with a supplier. So you might be able to run a small batch and pay for half, or you might be able to get them to run a prototype for you on the deal that then you place a 500 or 1,000 unit order with them, and just talking to people just to see what you can sort of get, like, to start, I think that's always a good idea.
You know, my mom always taught me that if you don't ask, the answer is no. So just be creative.
My dad used to say, if you don't ask, no, those that don't ask don't want, something like that. It was a riddle.
That's really good.
Oh, those that don't ask don't want, and those that ask don't get. I think he was trying to trick me.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what my dad always told me. If you don't ask, I can assure you the answer is no. Right? You have to ask the question. They can always say no.
Yeah.
And no doesn't always mean no unless it means no. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Ask
And by
everybody.
the way, wait,
yeah.
so back to the original question, though, I think it was specifically, can you ask this?
It was the
original
funding
question?
thing. Also,
What population was it? I'm sorry, because
no, it was
minority women.
minority.
So what I wanted to say was, okay, so women are minority in this field as it is anyway, and then to get to minority women. So the last thing I wanted to say was, find someone like you that you can go to, because that is a big deal. I think somebody who can connect with you that way and see some of you in them, that's also something that you should try.
And Jen Dalton, is she in the audience? So Jen shared in her LinkedIn session earlier, she shared about doing shout outs to speakers, right? She's like, you could shout out a speaker of a conference that you're attending, right? And to your point, you can do the same thing for somebody that you admire. You shout out that person, whether they're famous or not, it doesn't matter. Maybe you met them at a chamber meeting or at a breakfast, and you really appreciated something that they shared or that they said to you, and you can start a relationship, and you can actually seek that mentorship, and you don't have to officially go up and say, can you please be my mentor? It can just happen.
That's a great point.
Right?
You guys should all utilize this. Go for advice. Find that person that's like you, and then go to them for advice, and not so much saying, hi, can I have some money? And sometimes and they might know people then.
People like that as well. They're flattered, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If somebody came to me and was like, oh, I know you've got a factory and I really want to make this product. I love what you do. Can you help me with this? I'd be like, yeah.
Yes. Because we want to share.
Because you only work 8 hours a day.
But also on that, I got a grant from I know it's in the UK, but I got a grant because I was a female from an engineering innovation network.
Oh, cool.
So, because they needed to get their female demographic up because they'd given all the money to guys. So then when I came along with my product, they were like, you. We need to give you some money. I was like, okay, because I was a girl. So I was like, great. It works.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So we're going to try that.
Yeah. So you can find pots of money like that. You can actually look around for free money that won't get you into debt. If you're clever, you can,
Totally. I love that.
You know, it's an advantage being a woman, I think.
So Beth, is Beth in the room? Beth's question. Okay, great. Wow, you're all sitting in the back. Okay. What are the top mistakes that women entrepreneurs tend to make? What I'd like to do, if it's okay, Beth, and I'm sure you're going to say yes. You're going to say yes, right? Thank you. Is rephrase the question a little bit and say, what are the mistakes that you tend to see for yourself and other women entrepreneurs in your community or in your, friends of yours and colleagues of yours? What are the mistakes that we're making or the challenges or the obstacles that you'd like to share that maybe everybody else can kind of pay attention to and be attuned to?
Me?
All of you. I'm going to ask all of you. You're just looking at me,
I
so I'm
think
looking back at you.
I think people overcomplicate everything all the time.
Yes,
so I think, and I don't know if that's like a female thing, but when I went to this engineer, when I won the grant, and I went to work with this guy, and the way that his brain worked was very different to mine. And I went to him with my product, and he was like, wow. And he just simplified it, and I was like, oh. And all the stuff that he did, I knew how to do all of that. And I was like, oh, I just overcomplicated it, all the bells and whistles, the same with the branding, the same with, I made this little bag that my mirror goes in, and it cost loads of money. And then I found people that were buying the mirror and then throwing the bag out. And I was just because I was like, I want the branding to be amazing. And just overcomplicated everything, which means that you spend loads of money. So simplify. Simplify.
And then, Fran, we also spoke about seeking perfection, right? That it's not always about it being perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, 80% is good enough. You know, perfection is the enemy of done, right? So just like be inspired by Nike, like just do it. Like just put up the web page. Okay, you have to test things. There's a reason why people do A/B testing. There's a reason why, you know, things cultivate over time and they mature over time. Just get it up. Like don't just execute. Like start somewhere, but get out of your papers, right? We were talking about the big piles of papers. Just put up a landing page. You don't even need a website today. I mean, like, it's so easy. You could probably, you know what, and yeah, just do it. Just stop hesitating.
That's the best slogan ever.
Yeah, it
Just
really
do
is.
it.
Just do
they
it.
they got that one, didn't they, before we could
Yeah.
get it?
You don't even
I
want to
thought
know
of
what
it
he sold it
first.
for.
So one of my favorite quotes says, build the plane while it's flying. And I know that when I restructured my marketing, I know, all the engineers in the room are like, what? You don't do that. But I remember that for me, 6 years ago, when I made the decision to restructure my marketing agency and broke all the business rules you could possibly imagine, and I can share that with you later because we don't have time for all the rules I broke, in deciding to put my family first and myself first and restructuring this agency, was this new venture that I have today, which has gotten me to where I am today. My mentor kept saying to me, just build, just do it, and we'll test and tweak, and that's exactly what happened. Ava just a few minutes ago said, I was on your website and I love it. I haven't touched that website in over a year. There's outdated, I have red hair for crying out loud in that picture. Like, there's so many things. My speaker reel is like over 5 years old, and guess what? It doesn't matter. Could it always be better? Yes. But going back to Fran's point, perfection is the enemy of done.
But it can always be 1%
good enough,
better.
right? I'm sorry?
It could always be 1%
And it can
better.
always be better, right? It can always be better. And I think it's about where the priority is, right? It's where the priority is. Okay, what other mistakes or challenges or obstacles do you find women entrepreneurs that are making?
Well, again, I brought this up earlier, but it's seriously negotiations. I feel like women so often are just so excited about whatever they're doing, and they want to walk in and just give their idea and then kind of say, and then look at the other person and like, well, what are you gonna give me now? And it's like, well, you know, that is such a bad way to go into a negotiation, waiting for the other person to tell you something and then you to react. You have to know, please, like even, again, I said this before, but it's very valuable. It's like even if you have a few different scenarios worked out, because your number one thing might not be what happens, but work out a few so you know how to react when you hear things back. And there's no way that you're going to end up where you want to be because someone magically, you know, this like fairy godmother came along and oh my God, oh really, that's a higher valuation than I was going to ask for. That's not going to happen. Like that is not.
So Maria,
you only want 5% for 10 million? Oh my God, I wasn't even like that's not going to happen.
So I heard a negotiation expert at a women's conference probably about 10 years ago say something that I never forgot.
What?
She said, the minute you're willing to walk away, you have more power.
Yeah. You have to know what that expected value is.
To your point, right? You said understand the different scenarios, and it's like, okay, what's the lowest I'm willing to go, or what are my non-negotiables, or what is it,
and why? Because like, what's your other?
Yes.
You know, what else would you do then if you don't take this? What's your other scenario that's going to happen, so that you're not just at the mercy of what's being told to you, you know?
But being willing to walk away and understanding the parameters, your boundaries, your non-negotiables, and why is super important.
I think it's like really common for women as well. Like, definitely for me, it's like I undervalue what I do. Whereas I'll be stood next to a guy who will do the same thing to the same level, and he's just like, he'll sell it up here. And I'll sell down here. I just, you know, that was the thing that I really had to learn. I would just undersell my product, undersell my services all the time. So it's like a confidence thing, I think. So.
I think there's we need to feel valuable, or validated in some way. And I'm like, whatever that is, just throw that crap out the window. It's the little voice in your head going, no, but I could do this. Like, F that. Like, you're all, every one of you in every single seat is amazing in one way or another, and you don't embrace it. And that's what I find so much around, I'm going to say larger groups or, smaller groups, you can kind of support them, but in larger groups, you can't. And I kind of want to reach across the table and go, listen, darling, you're awesome, and don't let that guy just bully you around. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, you guys, you've got to hold on to that confidence that right? You get up in the morning, you put on your best dress, and you feel really great. You walk out the door until you walk through that door. Until you walk through the boardroom door, all of a sudden, the power just left. Don't lose it. You have it. Don't give it to anyone. It's yours. You know the value of the products. You know the value of your service. You know the value of your expertise. Many of you are coming from so many different lines of work and different experiences, and the sum total of that value coming into whatever you're doing now is so valuable. So valuable. Don't lose it.
And I think to your point, in addition to negotiation, what I found is that a lot of us also don't like sales because we feel salesy, right? And LaToya actually asked a question about that, about, how can I market without being annoying? And I think when I like to tell my clients that selling is really serving. And the second that you start to change your mindset of this, I'm not selling you anything, I'm serving you, and you have a cut on your arm, and I have the Band-Aid that's going to help you with that cut. How dare I not share this with you because I'm going to serve you? The second that I think we just change our mindset about sales or about negotiation, we start to really experience just another level of impact and another level of success. Do you guys agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else about obstacles or challenges that you see with women business owners? You think we kind of covered them?
We tend to spend a lot of cash.
We do spend a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Guys they really hold it much tighter than we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
We like to spread the wealth. Don't spread it so much. You can pull it back a little.
So great question, Beth. I love that
And
one.
I wasn't talking about Chanel bags. I meant like
And
in
then
business.
LaToya.
That's the
Okay,
creatives.
so let's
The
see.
creatives do that.
So this is another one from Stormy because it's a really good one. I know. So,
Go Stormy.
So she's asking.
Oh wait, you know what? I
she's
have
back
one
there.
more. I have one more.
Okay, yes.
Fire faster. We
Yeah.
love to nurture
yeah,
our
we
people.
had this conversation last night.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
Hire for fit, train for skill.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think women are definitely more like, oh, well, I can help this person.
Yeah.
I can teach
Yeah.
them. I'll do something else with them.
And maybe I
Don't
didn't
do
do
it.
enough. I need to help them
Right.
more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fire faster.
Good one, Fran.
The minute that you are overcompensating for something,
Yeah.
get them off your team.
Yeah. I'm
You owe it
ruthless
to
now.
yourself, right? Because they're stealing your time. Fire faster.
Right.
Sorry.
And I think, no, I do not apologize. I think that's phenomenal. I had to fire, when I had my marketing agency, I remember I fired someone that cost my agency thousands of dollars, her mistakes. We outgrew her. Phenomenal young woman, so loyal, such a beautiful human being. And that's what made it so hard for me, is that she really was she is a spectacular person. But the HR company that I outsourced, which we also talked about, right? Outsourcing experts. You're not an expert at everything. I definitely was not an expert in HR, now I am. So I outsourced that. But my HR consultant said to me, we have to stop thinking about all of that and think about the thousands of dollars that she's stealing from you. That she is stealing from you. So when you change the perspective of, she doesn't mean to steal, but she's stealing, right? At the end of the day, or you don't have to see it as stealing, just money that is being taken away from the business as a result of not having the right person in the right position, and you're freeing her up because she's not growing.
Free her soul into
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
economy.
say,
You
helps-
free
it
her.
helps- it
You
helps
free
me.
her into the economy.
Yeah, no, it helps me because look, you have somebody who's in the wrong role.
That's right.
So you're
That's
doing.
right.
So it helps me if I think, well, this person just isn't going to ever be super successful doing this thing, whatever this role is. They
And
should
we're
be
denying
doing
them of that
something
opportunity.
else, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're denying them of that opportunity.
Yeah,
okay,
and make
so
it really. And the follow-up question to that is always, okay, well, how do you hire good fits, right? So go back to your why. Look for the cultural fit, the people that jive with you. There's a whole subset of questions. You can talk to me afterwards. We make it really super hard for people to actually apply. We actually push them away because the people that actually get through really want to work there. Because after we made the Inc. 500 list, I can't even begin to tell, oh, I want to intern for you. I want to know what it's like to work for a really amazing, fast-growing company. I'm like, that's nice. I'm not your training ground. Like, that's what was going on in my head. And then we just got harder and harder to get them through. They have to give us a video. They have to do this. They have to answer these questions. They have to tell us why. And then when they finally get through, I only want to interview like 3 or 4 candidates and hire the right person for the job. I don't think it's really a cool thing to get like 65 resumes. Like, I would so rather not read that. So make it hard. Make it hard for people to actually get in.
Right, because then they're deselecting is basically what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
And also the contract at the beginning, just do the temporary thing. I think you can go through all of that process and still hire the wrong person sometimes. So just have that buffer time where they come and work for you, and then you can
put them on a project. That's how we start.
Yeah.
So I want to see if there's any follow-up questions from the audience before I continue on with other questions. Yes. Lydia.
I was wondering if you could touch up a little bit on outsourcing. I am working as an image consultant, and I'm thinking of outsourcing a nutritionist, beautician, and maybe even a therapist because of behavior. I'm trying to learn the branding myself. So how does it really work?
Are you trying to find a nutritionist?
I'm trying to outsource.
Yeah.
Denise?
I think that's a great idea. I mean,
Oh, you're trying to
because
outsource
when you
some
can make-
services? Yeah.
When you
I mean,
can
I
make,
don't
I
know
mean,
about that.
this is such a huge trend with everybody. Like, look at Goop, even, right? Which you might not to bring up that brand because you probably have very polarized views about it. But anyway, the partnerships, the brand partnerships that people are doing now,
Right.
it's huge, and it's so good for you to do that. It's really smart of you to think of that, because that's another way that you can make your business bigger without spending any money. The only thing is you really have to be careful about who it is, because it's your image. And look, you're an image consultant. My God! And by the way, you look gorgeous. But I like your outfit. but So who it is? Don't just take anybody. Make sure you vet the person, and then get a reciprocal with them. Have their social media supporting you. You support them. This is freaking genius, and everybody does it, all the way up to Gwyneth does it brilliantly. The only thing is you have to be careful then at some point that the people that you are doing partnerships with, that you always are curating it. Because even like the one that I used the example for, at some point when it's like things she picked, great. But then when it gets to the point where you're doing a Series A and the investors want to monetize all this, then all of a sudden you have common brands maybe in the store that people are going to be like, oh, I thought this was like going to be something that she found that I didn't know existed, and I get this anywhere. So you have to be careful about what your message is, that you stay true to it. But I would do that all day long. That's really a great, free, nice thing to do.
Yeah, and that goes back to alignment, right? Yep. Unity of message, alignment of people. When you understand why you exist and how you can articulate it, which means a written, articulated vision, mission, right? Then you can align with people. So when you have a unity of message where you believe the same things and you believe where you're going is the same place, not so easy. But when you do align, it's magical. Mm-hmm. And you have the ability to pull that out from you.
From the operational standpoint, what I would recommend and invite you to consider is, do you want to be the one that takes all the money and then pays these people and outsource? Or do you just want to have several referral partners? So I have that in my network, right? I work with a lot of moms, right? Because I help women business owners create businesses around their lifestyle and around their family priorities. So as a result, a lot of women are asking me for child psychologists or schools, right? Cleaning services, because I believe that no woman should be cleaning her house. We need to contribute to the economy and delegate that, right? Delegate
So
that.
are you delegating to men cleaners only?
That too. So I think it also depends, right? So for me, I'm just a referral partner. And that might be another way that you can look at it is possibly you can package this, back to Maria saying that it's a brilliant idea. You could package it and partner with these people, or you can just create a set of referral partners. There are people that do referral fees and percentages. I don't like to deal with any of that. I believe that God takes care of that. I believe that one hand washes the other. This is what you need. This is somebody that I believe in. And this is where I think you need to go based on what you've shared with me. However, don't discount a business opportunity and opportunity to make impact as well. You might have a bigger opportunity to make impact by partnering with these people. So don't discount that either.
Right, but
then going back to Fran's question, understand your why.
Right.
Why you're doing that, because it might be a beautiful partnership and then you create a product or a service together that can have that beautiful impact.
And so your clients, your social network, whatever it is, that's your currency.
That's right.
So don't give that away.
That's
Charge
right.
for it. And when it gets big enough, like I was shocked the first time I had to do a grand opening for something, and it was going to cost a lot of money to throw the party and do the PR and have all the right people come, right? And instead of writing a check for that, I realized, wait a minute, there are a lot of brands that would pay a lot of money to be here in front of the crowd I've assembled. And so I charged people to be there. So I ended up making money on the opening instead of me paying an event person a check. Because you have to realize that what you have is worth something. It's your clients. So charge people to use them, to be there in front of them.
Absolutely. Okay, the punctual Cuban has to keep on time, and we have 2 minutes left. I can't believe it. Where did the time go? I can't take any more questions. I'm so sorry, because we have 1.20 seconds left. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to wrap up. Did this go by as fast for you guys as it did for me? I feel like I've been on the stage for 5 minutes. Okay, so what I'd like to do is let's wrap up each of you in less than 30 seconds. No pressure. No pressure at all.
More like
Share with
18.
us one quote or one book or something that has changed your life, a resource that these women can go and just take in as soon as they get back to life after this
I can
conference.
hear the notepads going.
Yes, I love it.
I would recommend that if anybody's interested in creating a product, and it doesn't have to be a beauty product, but I would read the book. It's called The Beauty Entrepreneur by Michelle Williams. I met the author in New York, and she was a buyer in Bloomingdale's, I think, for like 25 years. She wrote this book. I read the book and I realized I'd made every single mistake in her book. So if you read that before you start, you'll be great.
Thank you, Liesel. What about you, Fran?
So two things. I would say, Seth Godin has like this incredible phrase, many of them, but it's earn trust, earn trust, earn trust. Everything else will follow. And I would also say this whole why thing, the golden circle. My good friend Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why, and his TED Talks really
You know him?
Of course I know him. I'm on page 86. My whole agency is all why-based.
Oh my God.
And Maria, we're at 0, so Maria.
So really quickly, so the message is, I'm stealing it. Freaking just do it. Go do something today. Do it. Just do it. Start something.
Just do it.
And I love the authors Adam Grant, Malcolm Gladwell, and most of my friends are kind of, even the biggest entrepreneurs I know kind of read those books. And it's just nice to read about people. You'd be surprised the outliers in who made it, how diverse where they've come from is. And you can learn lessons from everybody. So.
Yes. And I would like to invite you to become a subscriber on Audible or your local library and constantly read or listen to a podcast or a book. And the one I'd like to recommend is A Return to Love by my girl, Marianne Williamson. That's where I would go. I love that you guys are doing mindfulness soon. Actually now. So with that, we're going to be mindful and we're going to get off the stage. Thank you very much, ladies.
Great.
That was so much fun.
And you're so good.
Thank you.
Energy in the afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.